Good morning. Good morning. Can you all hear me out there just fine? Can I just get a thumbs
Yes.
up? Yeah, beautiful. I don't know why man, when technology's going good, it's going good. And when it's not, it is not. But I am happy to be with all you guys here this Friday morning, ready to get this week started, or excuse me, this week finished off. I spending some time on the the tech side of things and trying to combine that with what's going on with this lonely world and how do we find the balance between the two, and doing everything in my power to try and keep those two things separate because I think it's this, especially for us as agents. I mean, it is getting jammed down our throats right now that you've got to be marketing, you've got to be on social. So how do we keep this balance of push content out, right? Engage with people on social, but stop yourself from going down that rabbit hole. So I got a couple of things that I've been working on, but I wanted to open up and kind of start with that. Anybody have something that just, man, I'm in a groove. I'm doing it this way. Here's how I'm working, being out there in marketing, but not getting caught down rabbit holes. What are we doing out there? I think this is an important topic for us to get right. What do you got? Who wants to share? Are we all just struggling with it?
I can add something here, Steve.
Yeah. What do you got?
So the amount of times I've
Big
said,
fat yes from Meg Hess. I love it. I think we all are, Meg.
yeah, that's the answer, right? So the amount of times I've told, because I'm trying to get my TikTok up, I'm trying to get my YouTube up, and it's uncomfortable. It's the last thing I want to do. It gets you down the rabbit hole. And the amount of times I've told people, like, I wish my business wasn't, I didn't have to be on social because I would delete everything. I could care less about it, but you kind of have to be. So I remember this is a couple years ago, someone saying that there's an app out there because I know when you like other people's stuff and comment on other people's stuff, it helps you, it helps them. And I believe there's an app that allows you to do it. I just haven't done the research on it. So I don't know if you've come across it or you're going to talk about it, but essentially auto likes people's stuff. And I got to imagine at this point with AI, it might even auto comment um, on stuff. So that was going to be my only tip. I know it's out there. I just don't know what it is right now.
Yeah. So I don't know. My take on this is I just don't love the auto stuff. I think social is to be actually social if we're really going to do it, really be the one doing the likes and making the comments and doing all of that stuff. I love the automations for like ManyChat if you're trying to, have a PDF or you want to share some knowledge and you say, hey, comment this and stuff automates. Um, I mean, one of the strategies is you can, and depending on the platform, you can control what's in your feed, right? You can have favorites and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody's kind of played with that. Instagram has a pretty good function for that, so that you can follow people, but then you can have your favorites, which are going to actually show up more in your feed, so that you can control the narrative. You can see what you want to see just a little bit better. So, anybody using that, using the favorites feature?
How about the snooze and unfollow feature? I'm jokingly, I do use that because then you just don't see their stuff, but you remain friends. And I'm definitely using that more and more. And that's actually pretty helpful because there's usually 3 or 4 people that really annoy you on social that you don't want to see from. And yeah, I definitely use that.
There you go. That's a good tip. Who else has got some thoughts around this? Come on, we're all on social. What are you doing? What's working? What are you struggling with? Maybe somebody can help with something specific.
I just want to comment. I do like the automation app deal that Adam was talking about because although I don't like the automation and I really do like engaging myself, I struggle very hard with consistency. So I feel like that would definitely help to fill in the gaps. So even if there's like engagement stuff, because I'm the same, if I did not have to have social media, I wouldn't. So if I could at least have something going through, liking, commenting, engaging, like it would be really nice to fill in those, those lulls that I have where I'm not really on it very much. So I do like that idea. I have to look into that.
Is anybody aware or using something like that? Anybody know what Adam's talking about? Nobody's using it. All right. What else are we thinking? We've got our mortgage guys on. We can definitely talk some finance. I just thought we should spend some time on this stuff. I mean, obviously there's the apps that will block your time. I think those are pretty darn good. I think Freedom is one of the ones that I've used in the past. Making the apps difficult to find on your phone, right? So putting them in a folder or putting them, on the third page, just not making them readily accessible, can help. Lauren?
I think social media is a funny thing. It's one of those things that we know if we use it, if we use it properly, use it regularly, it's something that would benefit us, right? Like exercise or eating right. Like we know it, but we just don't do it. And I'm curious if there's some sort of related psychology behind that blockade that we put up that would be similar to something like good exercise or eating well, a good habit that we know will benefit us, but we just don't do.
Yeah, I definitely think that falls right in those buckets. It's the same problem. Um, and it is really cool when you share something personal and people engage with it, or I'll notice if I shared something personal, non-real estate, and then it's 2 months later, you bump into somebody and they saw it. Oh, that's cool that your daughter did this or your son did that, or I saw that you and your wife did this. Like, that is interesting. Like, it does actually get out there and people are seeing what you're doing, which is pretty cool. I love that part about it. Um, so there's definitely a place for it. The podcast I was listening to on the way home yesterday was talking about and I don't know how big of a group this is, but a group of colleges and groups at colleges, sort of like fraternity type things, that are setting up that in order to join their group, you can't be on social media. Let's get back to, let's get together, let's hang out, let's do stuff in person, and try and make a movement around this to push this stuff down, because the feeds they're that good. They are going to feed you exactly what you want. They know how to keep you there. They know what ads to push to you. So not only are you doing the mindless scrolling, but now you're making mindless purchases, and it won't be too long before, and it's happening now, where you're buying stuff right in the app. So any final thoughts on this before we talk mortgage?
One final thought I guess I have would be, I think it's because it's something that requires repetitiveness. It can't be done once and you get like the big hoorah from it, or potentially the big lull. It's something that you have to do consistently for kind of a long period of time to know whether it's something that is going to benefit you. And people like instant gratification more than anything else in this world. So
Yeah, I definitely think it's a long game for sure. I think if you get into this business and you go to the conferences and you watch a lot of the popular seminars, you're going to think you can just start posting on social media and be a top producer, and that's just not the case. I've had, we've had lots of agents come in and can you get some business from social media? 100%. But you can't break in with it, and you can't, and it's going to take a while to build the following. I was listening to this Diary of a CEO with Steve Bartlett. It was like 4 years of podcasting before he saw any kind of growth on his channel. 4 years of sitting down, interviewing people, getting better at the interviews, getting better at, I think he puts it up on YouTube, getting better at the lighting, getting better at the transitions. Like 4 years of doing that. And now he's got one of the top podcasts in the world, but who's going to have the time and energy, and I think he had a little bit of financial backing from a previous sale, to be able to do something for 4 years and not see results. But you see these podcasts and you think, oh, I could do that. Well, are you willing to put in 4 years of rejection? And I think social's similar along those roads of the timeline that's going to take to get a massive following. So anyway, just trying to bring some attention to this. If you don't have a strategy, look into some of the different ways to do it, whether limit your time on the app so it just blocks you out, put the apps in a different place on your phone, delete them from your phone and just use your desktop is another strategy. That way there you've got a focused time. You're going to sit down, you're going to do it, and don't make it as easy to do it on your phone. So a couple of different things. If you have something that's working for you, even if it's not today or you don't feel comfortable sharing today, come back and share it, because I think this is something that we really got to get right. We've got to be able to be on social, but not get sucked in. So with that, let's turn it over to the mortgage guys. Eric and Dan, what do you guys have for us today on this Finance Friday?
Hey everybody, how are you? So kind of came up with an idea. I think something I want to talk about. I know we get clients over and we get all their income and everything. We figure out what they're pre-approved for, and we come up with a number. And obviously, it's a very tight market out there. We all know this. And sometimes maybe the number doesn't make it easy to find them a house, I would say. The market that they're looking in, they really need to be at 350, but we give them a pre-approval for, let's say, 325. So the question we get a lot of times is, hey, can we get any higher? Can we squeeze a little bit more out of this borrower? The answer 90% of the time is maybe. We don't know up front when we're doing the pre-approval what the annual taxes are going to be for said properties. And neither do you. You look up 10 different properties, you're going to get 10 different tax amounts. So the annual taxes play a big part in how much they're pre-approved for. So I know, like, when I send out my pre-approval, you'll see in the body of the email what I used for an estimated tax amount for the annual. So, like, I have a borrower right now. I brought up a file just so we could kind of talk real numbers. So they were pre-approved for $325,000. I was using $4,800 annually for taxes. Now, if you told me, hey, I found this house over here, the taxes are $3,600, $3,700, something like that, the difference in that is almost $100 a month. That right there, without me even going in my system, I know I can pick up $15,000, $20,000 in additional approvable amount. So that 325 could easily become 340, 345 because of the lower taxes. Vice versa, if I'm using 4,800 and you find a house for 6,000, now unfortunately they no longer qualify for that number that I had on the pre-approval. So just, when we do the pre-approvals, we try to be safe on it. We want to make sure that if you go, if we tell you 325 and you go find something for 325, we can get to the finish line. So we might be using a little higher tax amount. We might be, having a margin of error there just to make sure that it's going to fit. So if you need a little bit more, hey, there's a property here that they're interested in. It's 10,000 over their pre-approval, but here's the annual taxes. Can we figure out a way to make this work? If the taxes don't help, we might say, hey, can we get an extra, couple $1,000s in seller paid concessions? We'll buy their interest rate down to make up the difference. So we go up $10,000 in pre-approval by lowering their interest rate, by buying it down a little bit. So there is always some wiggle room in the pre-approval. But I do get that question a lot when I issue the pre-approval. Hey, can they go 10,000 higher? And 90% of the time, we can get them the 10,000 higher. We just got to know the exact property with the exact annual taxes, what we're going to have for seller paid concessions if they don't have the money already in their bank account. And a lot of times we can make it work, but we really need more specifics for us to really work the numbers to get there. So I just kind of wanted to explain that, just so everybody kind of knows that there is some wiggle room, but it requires us to communicate and us to kind of have a hone in the target a little bit, because we're just going somewhere in that county and we're using like the highest tax amount to be safe.
Dan, anything else on pre-approval and changes that we see over time, or just some things for agents to kind of keep in mind while they're
Yeah, I mean, really,
they're shopping?
like Eric had said there, once you like have found the property at that point, it really makes it a lot easier for us to figure out exactly what it's going to take to get it done. If it, like I said, like Eric said, if it's stretching out the pre-approval a little bit to try to get it a little higher, buying the rate down, especially for a lot of you agents who have worked with me personally, I always tell everybody this. I give you that to be determined pre-approval up front. And then I say, hey, let me know when you find a property, because I'll go through all the specific numbers. I'll rewrite this pre-approval letter at that point to match up too with the price that we get it to and the specific address. A lot of times too, because people can't change their income, right? So we're playing with a formula where there's different variables. Some of the variables are fixed, some of them are not. But like their income, once we have their income documented, we can't change that. But I mean, if we have somebody who says, hey, I'm willing to put down $20,000 here to get my purchase done, and that's what they tell us at the time of their pre-approval. But say we verify that they've got $50,000, but we issue their pre-approval up front based on them only putting down 20. So that sometimes is another variable. Sometimes people have a little more money, a little more financial ability to put some money down, if they find that place that they really love, and if that's what it takes to get it there. Um, so it's a game we play where we're playing with a little bit of an unknown. So like Eric said, we always try to kind of overestimate on the taxes, and the insurance too. We've got insurance partners that we can kind of refer and bring in if we really need to. Hey, listen, to make this work, we need this insurance policy to be no more than $1,500 on the annual premium. And, the insurance agents are able to kind of work that out and help us to get that done. But again, once you find the property, now we're talking too, for the most part, that's kind of talking about single family homes. But now if you bring in multifamily homes, where we've talked about this before, that brings in even more of a variable, because now you've got the difference in taxes between one property to another. You've got the difference in rental income now that would be fluctuating in that property, in that equation as well. So the difference in rental income and taxes. So especially when you get like a multifamily pre-approval, we're just kind of doing our best to estimate it, but always come back once you've got that specific property.
Adam, I saw your hand go up. You still in a position to chat?
Yeah, in the car. Hopefully the audio doesn't go out. I just wanted to throw something out there with tax season being, a month away. I originally thought maybe this would only be for self-employed individuals, but I have to assume there's some situations where either filing your returns would help your pre-approval go up, or not filing your returns and doing extension might be more favorable. So I'm just curious probably more on a business owner standpoint, but I know there's a loss of income calculation that could be so severe that I don't know, I think there's a chance they could just not even count. They take a pretty drastic hit, right? So if you made 300,000 one year, you make 150,000 the next year, you had a $50,000 loss of income. I think the banks will say you don't necessarily, like, that might just scare them. So I'm just curious if there's anything anyone that's representing a self-employed buyer should be, having their lender look at before filing, or if they should be looking at extensions, and just kind of some best practices around that.
So yeah, that's really going to be more for like the self-employed type borrower, where we're calculating their income off of their tax returns. So for like anybody who's like a W-2 employee, really, whether you make a salary or you get paid by the hour, or if you get commission or production type income, we're always verifying that off of your paycheck stubs, your W-2s, and if we are breaking down that income further, we'll then get a verification of employment from the company they work for that would break down their income. Now, with self-employed people, yeah, we're taking typically the last 2 years worth of tax returns, and depending on what their income is, if it was inclining, like if the increasing, then we would average that income over 2 years. If the income is declining, then we would take the most recent year only. If it is a severe decline in income, then you're right. It would be an underwriter concern, like that one you said. If they went from making 300,000 to 150,000, you had you cut your income in half. The underwriter's concern is why. Why was your income cut in half? Is there a legitimate reason and an explainable reason as to why that can be acceptable, or was it just, hey, my business is not performing the way that it was before, my numbers are down? At that point the underwriters would have a concern with it. So if you do have self-employed borrowers that are in your pre-approval pipeline, then yeah, it is a good thing to check in with them and just say, hey, or have you prepared your taxes yet? Have you filed them? A lot of, if you've gotten recent pre-approvals here, especially like around this time of year, you get people who are getting ready to file. So we're always asking, hey, have you filed your 2024s yet? And ideally we'll be kind of basing it off of that. But yeah, it is definitely something
Dan,
to be aware of.
specifically, if we've got that big drop, right? I mean, if they don't file and you do an extension, nobody's going to know about the big drop, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they do have to provide a profit and loss statement, an interim P&L to pick up and fill the gap from when their last tax return was completed. So they'd have to give a P&L for the full year, but it's for our internal purposes only. It's not being audited. It's not being submitted to the IRS. It's just for our file. So if we have someone that says, my income is going to be declining, I'm not going to be reporting the same amount, then yeah, it would make sense to get them an extension until October and, get them into a house before then.
So yeah, to further touch on that, Adam, that's the biggest thing, obviously, self-employed people. Hey, I'm thinking about filing my taxes. I always tell everybody when working with self-employed, let me see the draft copy before you send it to the IRS for that exact reason. If it's declining, I could recommend, hey, why don't you hold off on filing this, do an extension. Also, if it was increasing, we might say, hey, this is going to help you have a higher pre-approval. But then there's one last variable that we all forget about. I want to look at that tax return and I want to see how much they owe the IRS. Because if now all of a sudden they're going to file this 2024 tax return and they're going to owe, let's say, $20,000 to the IRS, but we want to use that tax return, or that tax return doesn't hurt us, so we think it's okay to file. If they don't have the $20,000 to pay the IRS, then we're going to have a problem when it comes to closing their loan because they have an outstanding IRS debt now that they've filed that 2024. And the borrower is always going to say, well, I'll get a payment plan. Unfortunately, in mortgage world, to utilize that payment plan, they have to have made 3 payments on the payment plan in 3 consecutive months. So all of a sudden they file that return in March, they owe 20 grand, they get their payment plan in March, they make their payment in March. Now they're going to pay March, April, May before they can close on their purchase. So I want to look at that part of it too, because I've told people who are self-employed, listen, file an extension so you don't have to worry about that 20 grand so it doesn't mess us up in underwriting. Even though that tax return is not going to hurt us, the amount you owe will hurt us. So let's do the extension. I understand it costs money to file an extension. There's a little bit of interest that accrues, but this way you can still get your house and then you can file after you finalize the closing. So the amount owed to the IRS is very important also.
And likewise, guys, just be paying attention if you've got somebody that thinks they're going to get some money back, right? We got to get those tax returns in. We got to get them filed. And you'll see a lot of times over the next few months, you've got people that are all of a sudden now in a position to buy because they're getting that tax return money. So keep that. And I would say the other thing, this is a touchy topic. I've seen a lot of agents get in trouble with this. So please, pay attention to what are you doing as a self-employed, 1099 independent contractor to stock money away, right? I think what Real Broker just kind of launched with their Real Wallet and the ability to just tell Real, hey, I want to put 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever you want to put aside. You'll still have it there. It's still in your wallet, but it's in a separate account. You can kind of set it and forget it and know that you're going to have the money there that you need to pay your taxes. And if it's an emergency and you need to tap into it, that you have access to it. So If you haven't looked at Real Wallet, check that out, set your tax number. And I've just seen too many agents over the years get in real bad trouble with the taxes. So set that and forget it. If you're not with us here at Real, there's a lot of different banks that will have some sort of an option. It never seemed to be a clean way to do it. But that when you put a check in, it automatically diverted funds to 2 separate accounts. So if you're somebody that is not great with your finances, have a system so that you don't get yourself in trouble, right? That we get big checks, we tend to spend them, and we really got to be careful with it. I don't know if anybody on the call wants to talk to that, of a system that they might have in place or what they're doing. But I just love that Real did that and took that step, because I think it can help a lot of us just plan and not get in trouble this time of year. All right, any other thoughts?
You played around with Real Wallet lately? Is this something actually worth looking into?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just nice. The money comes right into it, and you've got a debit card. They just added all the, Google Pay and Apple Pay, so you get a physical debit card. I've got a physical debit card at my house. It's connected to my wallet. I can go and make a purchase with it. And the nice thing is, they're holding on to your money, so it helps Real as a company. So it helps the stock and all of that stuff. But now they're going to start to reward you. Right? If you were to take that money out of Real Wallet and go put it into a high yield savings account, right? You're going to get rewarded for doing that. All right. So they can't just expect you to leave your money in there and not reward you for it. So they're going to start to not only just give you instant access to the money versus waiting to get paid like you would at a traditional brokerage. But now, this nice little separation of funds is kind of nice. And they're going to just do little perks. Maybe they're going to waive some fees. Maybe they're going to get you to unlock certain things a little bit sooner. So all of that is in the works. But you should definitely look at it and take a peek and see if it works for you. I know one of the other nice things that they're doing with it is, over the years I've had, dozens of agents come to me asking for a commission advance. The nice thing is they now know your history, right? So if you're an agent that typically does 12 transactions a year, your income's typically $80,000, you need a commission advance, they'll have that data. You just hit a button and you get your money. Right? So it's in there. It's obviously not free. There's an interest rate attached to it, but just instantly you've got access to that. Maybe you need money to do a flip, or maybe you got yourself in a tough spot and you need some money. These are the different things that they're now going to know about you, and you literally have instant access to credit within the app. All right, guys, we are at the 9 o'clock hour. Let's take a quick look at what we have available for training today. That is not the right screen. What is going on here? Oh, I don't know. My screens are messed up, so I will just read you what's available today. We have how to hire a virtual assistant for you guys that are top producers that might be looking to move on to that. There's a class on that today, crushing it on YouTube, and then a new construction class. So I don't know, Meg, if that's something, I know you are very well versed, but I would love to have you take something like that. And we still need to get you on and get you talking new construction on one of these shows. So you are super knowledgeable, and we're lucky to have you with us on this call each and every morning. All right, guys, go crush your weekends. Spring market is here for sure. I know we're seeing a lot more activity. Open houses are getting busy. Go put some deals together, and let's talk about them on Monday morning. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.